Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money. We like that. All in one place for totally free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your cellular telephone or your computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else, those other places that podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, and when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&As and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free, zero catch. We've been using it ever since we started How Long Gone. And ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel like having the option of turning off the Q&As and the polls on the user dashboard has really helped boost my creativity and take it to another level. I highly recommend giving it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. It is I, Jason. How are you, Chris Black?
Namaste, Big TJ. Welcome back to the motherland, the lower 48, where life is good and only getting better. How are you?
I gotta say, I just realized right before we started recording that I am recording from my home for the first time in a week. It feels like forever, but it feels great to be in my house recording with a microphone stand that I don't have to hold the mic, and my pop filter and my external monitor. It's all here. I feel at home.
I hold my mic, as you know, because I'm more of an artist. I approach it a little differently than you.
Yeah, no singer or musical artist has ever used a mic stand. The only people who actually usually are comedians, your favorite.
I keep breaking them. You know what I mean? That's the problem. So that's kind of why I had to move on from that.
You have a bombastic style where you're always breaking the equipment, and it is starting to add up. Yeah, I posted for our last one-on-one episode that went up on Monday. I shared a photo of me recording from Hawaii, and it said Studio Reveal.
Yes.
But unfortunately, most people thought that was actually my house where I record every episode of the show.
Damn. They were like, Chris is really treating you bad.
People really thought that it was my house, but it was not. I record in a normal room, on a chair, at a desk, not in a closet on the North Shore of Hawaii. Just wanted to clear that up, you guys.
Thank you. I love doing a little house cleaning here at the top of the program. You know what I mean?
We have more if you want to get into it, Chris. I have so much to clean. You're all good?
Yeah, dude. I'm all set on any of your little house cleaning shit. We have breaking news here. Tiger Woods flipped his whip.
What?
Tiger Woods gone off the perkies, I would guess.
Again?
After that. Well, I mean, look, if you just had a hit piece go up and you can't win a tournament. No, I don't know for sure, but he did.
It wasn't a hit piece. That was a defending piece.
He apparently flipped the SUV in Palos Verdes, I think. So
in PV. Oh.
I mean, maybe not PV, but somewhere like that, like Rancho something. I don't know, some part of some suburb of LA that I ain't ever been to before. You know what I mean?
He found out the Trump course was closed, and he got so fucking pissed. He rolled the Jeep Patriot. It's a custom Patriot.
What do you? Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? No, I think he probably drives something dumb like an Escalade, like a car you shouldn't drive yourself.
No, he's definitely got the whatever, like the Mercury version of the Lincoln Town Car. He's got like a Buick SUV because of like
he gets
a deal
that for free. Yeah, but he probably gives that to like his fucking nanny or his maid. Well, not his nanny. He gives her the high hard one, if you know what I'm saying. But he probably gives the
cheeky dog. Cheeky dog.
He probably gives the SUV away to some member of his staff, you know what I mean, as a holiday present. Although I'm sure he's not a great boss. But anyway, hopefully they had to use the jaws of life, so maybe it's serious.
What?
Yeah.
Tiger. Damn, bro. That sucks. I feel bad for him.
Big Tigger just can't keep it on the rails, bro. But
it's tough. When we can blame his father for this, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best course of action here. I mean, that's what everybody else does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of docs, I finally caught that Woody Allen. Have you seen this Woody Allen guy?
You know what? No,
we don't have to talk about it. We can wait until it all comes out if you want.
I just don't care. I don't think I'm going to watch it. Like, I just am like, I think everybody involved is such a fucking scab that I'm just like, this is all bad. I don't care. Is there any new information is the real question.
I guess because you were talking about how Mia Farrow has kind of gone off the rails recently.
Yeah. Not recently. I would say for 20 years, but yeah.
Right. So, I mean, but I guess the documentary, I watched the first one last night, and I guess, you could make an argument that she has lost the plot mentally a bit because of Woody Allen fucking her kids.
Totally.
So, her, but she doesn't come off as a crazy person at all, really. She actually comes off pretty...
she's an actress, Jason, let's not forget. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
they paint a pretty good picture for Woody Allen being, like... really bad.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he is. Like, that's the thing. That's what I mean. But we've all known that for 25 years, and it comes up and goes away. It comes up, it goes away. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but when a Woody Allen movie comes out, I look forward to watching it. And after watching this documentary, that has changed.
Well, good. Perfect timing for you then, because he's not gonna. He hasn't made a good movie in 15 years. So
do not come for a Cafe Society, bitch. That was
no. I'm all set on that. I'm all G.
No, with Woody, I'll watch. I'll gladly enjoy an awful Woody Allen film. No problemo. Midnight in Paris. We got Owen Wilson walking around going, "Wow, Picasso. This is a Picasso was here."
I didn't know you could do an Owen Wilson. Do the wow one more time for us.
Wow. Everyone can do an Owen Wilson wow. That's the easiest impression.
I've never
UCB
tried that.
day one.
I'm sorry, I stick to the two impersonations I'm very good at, which is Kermit the Frog and Barney from The Simpsons, because they go into they come from a similar guttural place for me.
Chris, that is actually kind of interesting, the juxtaposition of those two. I would love 1,500 words on your medium about that.
I hate The Simpsons because it's actually not funny or like as irreverent as people want it to be, and it's animated. Kermit is a certified legend. I wish he wouldn't have done the Supreme thing, but what are you going to do? It's a different time. We all need
I like
to check.
That you're referring to Kermit as an actual human who like makes business.
Bro, we all need
decisions.
to check. We all need to check sometimes. We all do it for the check sometimes, and that's okay.
But Chris,
that's totally good.
My main takeaway: you should watch the Woody shit because it's wild. I mean, I knew about some of the stuff, but I didn't know about all of it.
Well, how much is Ronin in it?
Very little.
Okay, that makes me want to watch it more. I mean, I'm sure I'll eventually watch it. I mean, You're
definitely going to watch it. It's salacious AF. It's all there. It's got everything you need.
I just also I mean, I also just don't know if like I need to personally really dive into the sordid details of that. Like, do I need that information? You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
No, yeah, nobody needs it, but it's nobody needs to look at a car accident on the side of the 405, but
don't talk about Tiger like that in his time of need.
I'd be looking.
You'll put the black flies down low on your nose and watch the world burn.
I will tilt my flies down if it's about to be some blood.
I got into this on in the public announcement newsletter this week, but this Morgan Wallen thing keeps blowing my mind. Well, he's the number one selling artist of 2021 now, and I don't even that doesn't surprise me because fans are fans, and I don't think fans actually care about what anybody does if they like the music. Especially, like, no offense to our country music listeners, but that's not the smartest fan base out there. You know what I mean? Those aren't the most critical thinking, those aren't the people that maybe are delving into, institutional racism in their free time.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last episode, but, as a member of Team Breezy, I can relate.
You can relate. But I think that the greatest takeaway for me is that his record label, Big Loud, which is should be a hip hop label. I'm very concerned.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's days away from getting that. I'm getting a Cookies collab, y'all.
But it's just I love it because they distance themselves and they're publicly like, we no longer work with Morgan Wallen, but they own the motherfucking album that's making them all this money. Mm-hmm. So it's truly the dream for a record label. They can virtue signal and get all of the love from the country music community, like they're distancing themselves from this problematic singer. We can't be associated with this, but the bank account is still growing, and people just don't. People don't seem to think about this, but this is what I was told about Ariel Pink as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's a similar case,
and also a similar case to what we were just talking about with Woody Allen, where I think you sent me a link saying, Woody Allen documentary is playing on HBO. Full takedown, painting him as this absolute monster, while HBO also has 6 of his films currently available to stream.
6 of his films streaming, 5 of those with Mia Farrow in them. So it's a little bit. It's just crazy, dude. It's crazy. I mean, I don't, this to me is just something interesting because money is what makes the world go round and no one truly cares about anything except money if you really get to the bottom of it. But I think that it's more just like we believe in corporations and we expect stuff from them, and you have to remember they don't care about you and they're never going to give you what you want unless it's a place to enter your credit card number so they can receive your payment.
Unless they can wet their beak, it ain't going to happen for you.
Yeah, it's just those are three prime examples in entertainment specifically where it's like, oh, you're just talking out both sides of your mouth and no one really seems to care. Like no one's gonna cancel their HBO Max subscription. You know what I mean? No one gives a shit. Like no, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not gonna stop using Spotify because they didn't take down Ariel Pink's albums. Like
Right.
it's just everybody's so self-righteous and not really doing shit except tweeting. Even these big companies. It's crazy.
Let us pave the way and lead by example. I'm going to stop watching so many Woody Allen movies.
Thank you, Jason, for that. And
The journey begins with one step.
Just FYI, I have deleted Morgan Wallen from my Apple Music and Spotify personal playlists.
This is Morgan is gone.
Yeah, This Is Morgan is gone. It felt like being baptized. You know what I mean? It felt like my sins were being washed away, and I had a 12-pack of Coors Light on the table. I was able to resist it. Overall, it's been positive
Congrats,
for me.
brother.
But I just love gazing at the entertainment and media industries and making these obvious yet astute observations. That's what we do here on How Long Gone, right, Jason?
We make it look easy, like the music of the Sex Pistols. It's hiding in plain sight, isn't it? And we're there to uncover those stones. Are you the same way? Like when you go for a vacation, you leave town for a while. When you return, you kind of need like 24 hours of a little bit of a buffer before so you don't burn up on entry. That you don't have to do that, right?
No, bro. I'm just fucking. It's full tilt. CB goes wherever he needs to go, and he's on time, and he makes it look good.
Okay.
And I do know. What you mean.
Maybe we can ask our guest about this, who probably knows a little bit about
yes.
the road more so. But yeah,
more so than us.
I'm personally going through a little bit of shaking things up on entry. Like my sleep schedule's a little messed up. I'm getting back into the groove. I'm doing my laundry, and
it's nice of you to give your cleaning lady the week off so you can feel like a human being again and like do your own laundry. I think that's smart. That'll help you reenter.
You want to know something funny? Our cleaning lady is literally here right now, cleaning the house. Because my life partner scheduled a house cleaning the day after we arrive and the day after we adopted a new dog.
Okay, we're not going to talk about the dog because I don't care. But we can get into it. We can get into it later. We do have a guest today. A Grammy nominated artist. A member of the band, a How Long Gone favorite, Big Thief. He just put out a solo album, Two Saviors. His name is Buck Meek, Texas's own. One of the coolest names I've ever heard. Maybe I don't know where you stand on that.
And I think it's his real name.
It is his real name, but his
second best Meek musician on Spotify right now.
Yeah, I would agree. His solo record is great. Obviously, his work with Big Thief is great. You're probably familiar with that. I think he is a true road dog. So I'm sure this pandemic has been throwing a branch in his spokes. And not able to hit the road because the record came out. His solo record came out during the cursed COVID-19 virus. But yeah, he's just got a very interesting style of guitar playing. Just seems like a cool cat, to be honest. I love talking to people who have toured at every level, from full on like busking to a car to a van to a bus to maybe even now. I mean, honestly, Big Thief might be touching down every once in a while in the plane. It's very possible.
Damn, that's the name of our new Spotify show called From Bus to Busk.
That's a good idea. Don't give that away for free. All right, let's give Buck a jingle and we'll talk to him shortly. Yeah, Jason's an Ableton master.
I have my DJ software that I'll be able to line it up.
Nice.
It's called beat matching, Buck. I could teach you a little something about
it. Buck, thank you for joining us. Are you in New York right now?
No, I'm in Topanga Canyon, California. My house.
Wait, you live in Topanga?
Yeah, I live in Topanga Canyon.
I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought is that a recent move or is that where you've always been?
I've actually been here for 2.5 years now. I kind of slipped out of New York unnoticed.
Me too, actually. Me too.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I'm down the street, but I think that We talked to Rye recently, who you might know, who's I think he's your neighbor.
Oh yeah, Rye X.
Rye, the musician, Mike. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a different. There's two Ryes here. There's a
Really?
there's a dude Rye X who I do know, who I surf with quite often. He's like an Australian songwriter, and but I don't know Rye. But I know a dude Kyle Crane who plays drums with Rye.
Yeah, they have they got the crazy crib in Topanga, but he was saying the weather's different. He said it's just a different world up there. Is that what attracted you to the neighborhood?
Yeah, it's a different world. You get all 4 seasons up here.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, even though you're just like 20 minutes from town.
You don't strike me as a guy who goes to town much. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, how often do you go into town? Do you mix with the townspeople?
Yeah, I go a lot to go find food. I love food so much, and I eat lots of good food there in LA.
Where are you?
Okay, let's get into it, Chief.
Let's go. What are your spots? Share us.
Because actually, I was doing a little research, and I saw that about 5 years ago you did a list with Brooklyn Vegan about like your favorite breakfast spots and favorite swimming holes.
Yeah, I did a swimming hole one this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're a real listicle daddy, so let's get into some LA grinds.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of a disciple of Jonathan Gold ever since I moved here. I don't know if you know Jonathan Gold, the food writer.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So I've been
Jason.
I'm also a disciple.
Nice.
I want to give you full disclosure before we get into this. Jason is a member of the LA food community. He's very well versed. So I am more of a novice, but I just want you to have full disclosure going into this list. You know.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, of course, I've been hitting all the Jonathan Gold spots I can that are still open, but I've also been trying to explore the San Fernando Valley in particular, since it's just right down the mountain from me. With the spirit of Jonathan Gold. So I've been finding some great spots. There's this one joint called Baja Sub it's like an old sub shop in a strip mall, but this Sri Lankan family bought it maybe like 10 years ago and chose to keep the name to like respect the heritage of the neighborhood heritage.
What?
So it just says Baja Sub.
That's cool.
And like says
Baja
nothing
Sub
about Sri
Market
Lankan
in
food.
Delhi.
Yeah, and they still make subs too, and like for the old timers, you know. And they also have Mexican food. Wow. But like it's really owned by a Sri Lankan family, and they make the most incredible Sri Lankan food there.
So you can get you can get like a sub sandwich, you can get Mexican food, or you can get some Sri Lankan food in the same place.
Exactly. Like
I can get a curry goat roti, an Italian hoagie on wheat,
and a breakfast taco.
This is impressive.
Yeah, it really it sums up what I love about this city in one place. There's also a joint called Kobe Factory. It's a Syrian restaurant owned by all these Syrian grandmas. It's amazing. And I just found a badass Jamaican food restaurant last night called Jamafo.
Damn, bro, you just put me onto 3 places that I have never heard of.
Nice.
You're out here, man.
So you're getting deep.
I'm getting deep.
So yeah, Kobe Factory, a Middle Eastern unpretentious counter service restaurant in Van Nuys.
Yeah, and if you go to Kobe Factory, definitely get the Kobe. Get their they have all, you know, a lot of what you've probably heard of before, but the Kobe is this Syrian specialty that's so good.
Kobe spelled with 2 E's for our listeners at home.
Yep.
Wow, that's
damn, bro.
I didn't know. So are you cooking as well, or are you more of a restaurant guy?
I've been cooking a lot, actually. I've been trying to get into Japanese cooking during this pandemic. My partner got me a donabe for Christmas.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yeah. I have a couple friends who've gotten super into that, and it's like
nice.
They went through some. We were barbecuing on it a lot with the. It's not charcoal. It's like the wood sticks. One. Yeah, the smoker.
I want that one.
They have like 4 or 5 of them.
I don't have the smoker.
Because they also look nice on the counter. You know what I mean? They're pretty.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
they're
nice
such
to sit them out.
It's like a sculpture. I just got the rice cooker, so I've been trying to perfect sushi rice, and I've been making sashimi and making hot pots and just like the classic donabe home style cooking with like whole fish and. But I think my 2 favorite foods are Japanese food and Texas barbecue. So I've been trying to synchronize those 2 things. I've been smoking a lot of ribs during this pandemic and kind of perfecting my own smoked rib recipe, and then combining that with like all the pickles and like, you know, the vegetable world of Japanese cooking, because they go so well together.
That's been one of my favorite bowls to make in quarantine. Not to get too nerdy, but I love the combination of a proper smoked barbecue rib with white sushi rice and a bunch of pickled vegetables. That together is such a nice bite.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's this barbecue restaurant in Austin, Texas, where I'm from called, there's a restaurant called Loro that was started by Aaron Franklin of Franklin's Barbecue and the dude who runs Uchi, I forgot his name. And it's like, it's a synthesis of Texas barbecue and like all kinds of Southeast Asian food. And it's so good. You got to go there.
So Buck, you look like a slender cat. How are we burning these cows? I feel like you're hitting the waves.
You must be surfing a lot, cause
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in the ocean.
Yeah, I can see the collarbones.
Yeah,
the collarbones are exposed.
Yeah. I've been surfing a lot during this pandemic. It's been such a blessing to have all this time here, and especially when it first hit and the beaches were closed. After 6 p.m., the lifeguard would leave, and me and like 3 locals would sneak into the break at Topanga Beach and just have it all to ourselves for like 4 months, which was such a dream.
That's great.
Like the only time in history that there's been 3 people out there on a good day.
So that was sort of night surfing then as well.
Yeah, for like sunset surfing into the evening,
Okay.
and then the bioluminescent tide came through for a week in the summer or whenever that was, and
Don't sleep on that.
yeah, there was this red tide with this bioluminescence that like lit up neon blue whenever the waves would crash, and so I was out there surfing at midnight on the full moon during the bioluminescence for that whole week, which was mind blowing.
shit.
What is it about you that instilled this ability to just make such a good situation out of a bad situation? Because we've had so many guests on the show who are just sort of like recounting their hell life.
Yeah, I mean, it's always seemed pretty obvious to me just through observing the human experience that so much of the beauty in the world comes from like, resilience and in response to tragedy or having to overcome something is pretty much the source of most good art.
Is that instilled in you by your family, friends, nature, nurture? What do you think?
I think all of the above. Yeah, just I think that every single person and every living thing goes through that process, of having to overcome and find peace and find like transcendence in whatever their experience may be. And sometimes you don't realize you're doing it, but everybody's doing it, in their own way.
Maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself. Thanks, Buck.
I mean, I feel like you probably had, you in particular, more than me and Jason, had a lot of big plans this year. I feel like there's probably a lot of stuff going on for you.
No, Chris, I cleaned out the rain gutters. And I did a lot of shit. All right.
Not to discount Jason from your trim painting in Glendale, but I just I feel like
it looks good.
Your album was not slated for release this year, Jason. So we'll have to wait. But I feel like, so I imagine you had some big touring plans that were quickly canceled, correct?
Yeah, everything was canceled. Big Thief was going to go on like our first Japanese tour, Asian tour, and we were playing the Ryman Auditorium, and like we were going all over Europe again, and then of course I was releasing my record and planning on touring around the world with that. And so yeah, it was a real challenge to let go of all that and to also release an album in a time where I can't share that with a live community, and it's been super vulnerable. But yeah, I guess to answer your question in all seriousness, I think that it's made it very obvious that the only thing I can really do is surrender to that. And the easiest way to do that for me is to just go to the opposite of the extreme and just spend as much time in nature as I can and just try to really embrace this rare opportunity to be alone and like spend some time with myself and write and just to release the album, for instance, in the true sense of the word, and release it and like actually let it go and start working on a new one immediately instead of this cycle of like releasing an album and then having to play those songs for a year on the road, which is the pattern I've followed for 8 or 9 years now. And I'm trying to look at it as a special opportunity to just work on new things.
We're big Thief fans. We've been following you guys for a while, and obviously Jason and I come from like a punk and hardcore background, so we understand touring and like how you do that at every different level, which I feel like you've experienced and done for a very long time. So this must feel extra new and strange to have this thing come out and not instantly be gone for 3 months. It's just
it's crazy.
A shock to the system.
But it's polarizing because on some levels it feels like a really needed respite. Like it's been really healthy for me to take a breath from that lifestyle and to just focus on cooking for the first time in like 7 years, and to focus on my physical, my health and and reading. I've read so many books, I've read as much as I can in this time, which I rarely have an opportunity to do. But simultaneously, it's really vulnerable and weird.
You mentioned that you have a lot of opportunities now to go out into nature, be alone with yourself, etc. But you also mentioned you had a partner. How do you balance that? Do you have a hard time or an easy time setting up alone time?
Well, actually, my partner lives in the Netherlands at the moment. She's trying to move here as soon as possible, but everything's kind of frozen.
Smart man.
Yeah, the whole immigration world is frozen. So there's a lot of built-in alone time. But when we are together, our lives are very much in tune. I think we have a similar balance of like needing to focus and to work and also to spend a lot of time exploring. And yeah, it's pretty in tune.
Beautiful when you get two people who can do that.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
You are lucky.
Yeah, she might be an astronaut, so she empathizes with the touring lifestyle. She's applying to be an astronaut right now.
What, dude? Yeah. Hold on. What? What do you mean? What do you mean planning to be an astronaut? That means working towards her astronautical degree? Like, what do we mean by that?
Well, she's a scientist and she's been working in science for a long time, but she's now applying to the European Space Agency astronaut program, and she has no idea if she'll. It's just kind of like she's just winging it, but we'll see.
Damn, how does it does that make you feel? Excited, scared, worried, happy? What's going on in your head when Bae is an astronaut?
Yeah, I mean,
you definitely don't have to look over your shoulder when you're checking the DMs because Shorty's in space, but there's a safety issue.
Oh, is she out of town? Yeah, she's like really out of town. Like she's out on Mars, actually. Yeah, for a little bit. Yeah, she's on Mars.
Yeah, I would plan my tours around it. I would just go on tour when she's in space, and it'd probably simplify things a lot.
That's a great idea.
Damn, I feel like I'm interviewing Grimes right now. Like, whenever Elon has to go to Mars or whatever, then I'll just do Coachella then, and.
Yeah, exactly. I really do want to be the first band in space, though. I've always said that with Big Thief. I want Big Thief to be the first band in space, first concert in space. So I got an in now.
I feel I was about to say, I feel like you might be closer than other people, except maybe like Kanye West, who's put in the time with Elon. But I mean, it just depends on how it shakes out. It depends on how it shakes out. But you're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Luckily, we have a good relationship with Spotify. I'm sure you guys know Spotify as well, but we can kind of let them know that that's an interest of yours. It's on your mood board, and see if we can push that through. So
let's get into your touring history a little bit, because I feel like you really started in the gutter. Like you might have toured in a car. Is that safe to say?
I actually started touring on a bicycle.
Yeah. Come on, bro. Okay, so
what city were you in when you were on a bicycle?
I really did. My first tour was in a broken truck. I went to the Berklee College of Music, and the day I graduated, I found this old Toyota 4-wheel drive on Craigslist in Flagstaff, Arizona. I sent the dude $1,000 on PayPal and flew to Tucson and like took a Greyhound to Flagstaff or whatever and bought this old Toyota truck, and then took it to Texas and picked up my band, and we went on this tour from Texas we were supposed to get to Oregon, but we only made it to Colorado. We broke down like 5 times. And that was my first tour. My second tour was on a bicycle with this group called the Pleasant Revolution. It was like this kind of third wave ska band from California, from California, called the Ginger Ninjas. And I got the gig playing 6-string bass in the ska band, and we had this pedal powered sound system. And we toured across Europe for 6 months on these bicycles with these pedal powered speakers. And we play shows like on the beach, everyone's naked, like 1,000 people naked on the beach.
What?
Buck.
And we play moving concerts.
Slow down.
You just said a lot of things right now.
Yeah, that was a wild
whole
combo.
Podcast's worth of material.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
So a third wave ska band from California, pedal-powered musical PA system, playing for nude crowds.
Not always nude, but often nude. There was this thing called like the World Naked Bike Ride that was making its way across Europe. So we would have these moving concerts in these critical masses with like a couple thousand people naked on bicycles rolling through London or Berlin, and we had the speakers on the bikes with generators. So I would be sitting on there playing the bass, and we moved across Europe for 6 months like that, and that was really fun.
And the 6-string bass.
Yeah.
What do you get from the 6-string? Is that an influence from Korn, the band Korn?
Yeah.
I never played the bass before, and I went to Guitar Center the day before I flew to San Francisco, and I was just like, I'll take that one. I'll take the 6-string bass. Like that makes sense, right? Because I'm a guitar player. And
right. You're used to 6 strings.
And of course, it's so silly. And then when we were in Europe, we played some festival in Germany, and NOFX was headlining. NOFX was like my favorite band when I was 13.
Let's go.
So I was in the fucking front row, and I had a badge, so I went backstage to meet Fat Mike, and I had my 6-string bass on my back, and I was like, Fat Mike, will you sign my 6-string bass? Will you sign my bass? And he looked at it and he's like, no, I'm not going to sign your fucking 6-string bass. Like, get that thing out of my face.
Said, I'm not going to sign the Ibanez for you, okay? Not tonight.
Wow.
That's really funny.
Not going to do it.
That's really funny.
Wow. I mean, even though I grew up with a straight edge background, I did find myself listening to punk and drublick
Same.
one too many times, buddy.
Same.
The decline.
Damn, bro. Okay, well, are you a member of the nude community, Buck? If you don't
No.
mind asking.
No, I'm not.
You've moved on.
I do.
You've grown.
Don't be bashful.
I do walk around my yard naked sometimes. I bet my neighbors see me, but it's not,
Well, that's pretty normal for Topanga, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about. Yeah, that's not a red flag up there. It's different.
A lot of hog in the canyon.
Or I have an outdoor shower, so I just, sometimes I run out there and everything, but that's about it.
Topanga living is good.
Yeah, honestly, between you and Rye, Topanga, besides the spotty Wi-Fi and the cell signal, it's sounding pretty great. For everything else adds up. So after the bike tour, do you come back? Do you go to New York? When do you go to New York?
Yeah, after the bike tour, I basically went to New York, and that's when I met Adrienne. We started just writing together on our stoop, playing guitar together for like a year and writing all these intricate guitar parts and like starting to write songs. I was working all kinds of jobs around New York to save up cash, and like mostly construction and stuff. And I had this great job working deconstruction for this green building warehouse. They would I was on the team. We'd go out and deconstruct like those old wooden water towers on the top of the skyscrapers.
Oh yeah.
We'd take apart the marble lobbies of skyscrapers in Midtown. One time we took apart this entire library at Columbia University.
Whoa.
Like this beautiful oak physics library with all these great bookshelves, and to resell the materials. So I was just working jobs like that for the first couple of years living in New York and playing with Adrienne, playing every little house show we could, and also playing a bunch of klezmer music with my friends, singing my own songs in basements and stuff. And just part of a super rich community there in New York City at the time. All of our just incredible bands.
Klezmer music, you say, Buck?
Yeah. Well, I grew up playing a lot of Romanian music and Manouche jazz, like the music of Django Reinhardt and old swing and stuff like that. And I got wrapped up with some klezmer musicians. My friend Adam Moss and David Moss, they play a lot of klezmer music, so they kind of wrapped me into their scene once I got to New York a bit.
Easy to get wrapped up in the klezmer scene, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just kind of dipped my toe in, but
A convincing crowd.
for the most part, it was just me, and Adrienne playing a bunch of basement shows with all kinds of wild experimental bands. And then we quit our jobs and bought this old Chevy van, like an 87. Yeah, and just booked every little show we could around the country. Just pulled every favor we could and played parties and barbecues and empty bars down to Texas and back a few times. That's kind of where it all started.
But you guys went to school together, but you didn't know each other at school, right?
Yeah, we never met at Berkeley. Actually, we did. We met in Boston through the first time we met. I had a band called Mob Tet that was like a New Orleans kind of brass band, and we opened for Adrienne's band at the time. After I had graduated, she was still in school, and my band opened for hers at a house party called the Mothership in Jamaica Plain. And we really made an impression on each other that night. We met very briefly on stage, but we both really loved each other's sets. And then 3 years later, when she moved to New York, I ran into her at the corner store the first day she rolled up, and we recognized each other from the Mothership. And that's how the conversation started.
So what goes on at Berkeley? What's the vibe there? Because I feel
Yeah, and Berkeley's School of Music, not Berkeley, the California University.
Yeah, Berkeley College of Music in Boston.
Yeah, because I feel I've known a handful of people in my life who've gone there, and then obviously John Mayer went there or whatever for a semester. It goes all the way down the line. But I just feel like a school like that, it must be difficult with enrollment, because I feel like everyone there is very, very talented and really doesn't care about being in school. You know what I mean? It's that's the feeling I would get, because people are so talented and there's such a clear path away from that to be a professional musician. Or am I wrong in assuming that?
What makes somebody have Berkeley material outside of just being, gifted at music naturally?
People are drawn there for so many different reasons. But the thing that I don't know, my experience there and the community I built was more kids who grew up playing jazz, for instance, who got deep into jazz at home for whatever reason. For me, it was because I got wrapped into this community of old timers in the Texas Hill Country who played Western swing with Bob Wills and with Merle Haggard, and all these old timers playing pedal steel and, electric guitar, at parties at 3 a.m, in ice houses with people getting in fights and, the
real shit.
What's your pedal steel game like?
I don't actually play the pedal steel, but I've been working really hard during this quarantine to try to mimic it on the guitar, just playing compound bends and volume swells on the telly. But I've never touched the pedal. I need to get in there. But long story short, I came from this kind of breathing, living experience with jazz, which drew me to Berkeley. I thought I wanted to study jazz. And I think a lot of kids come from that they grew up in Chicago or something, or they, whatever. They fall in love with the romance of jazz and the old world of jazz. And then they get to Berkeley and they're immediately in this existential crisis of like finding themselves suddenly in a really stiff institutional environment that's like, synthesizing all of the elements of jazz into.
It's not so jazzy after all, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, which is totally valid, but like the community that I became a part of was basically all these kids who grew up with that, who then are suddenly just at Berkeley and have no idea like how they fit in, and then they just start making music together after hours, like in their dorm at 2 a.m. and like writing really weird songs together and trying to play rock and roll to like deal with their angst, and all of the like experimental music and rock and roll that comes from that community at Berkeley is so cool for that reason. Yeah, and I found my way. The first year or two, it took me a while to find the professors that I really resonated with, but there are some incredible professors there, though. I think there's something like 150 guitar teachers or something like that, but there's some really heavy cats there. I eventually found this dude, David Tronzo, who's a really wild, like, slide guitar player. He came from, like, the kind of experimental New York scene in the 80s and 90s, and he took me under his wing at Berkeley and really, like, opened my eyes. So yeah, but I had to kind of shape my own experience there. It took me a minute to realize that if you really have to kind of create your own reality at Berkeley to get what you want out of it.
I mean, you have a very wild style of playing guitar. I'm no expert, but it seems like something that was formed at a very young age, and then maybe that Berkeley sauce was put on top of it, and there was like a more technical aspect added in. You know what I mean? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
Because did you teach yourself, or was it like a mom, dad, how did you start playing guitar?
I was obsessed with the children's musician Raffi, and I would just like play a broom along with Raffi, and then my mom put her old Yamaha acoustic in my lap, and I would just like strum it, open strings on my lap, and then my mom actually gave me my first guitar chords, and she taught me my first songs when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And then when I was like 15, living in Wimberley, Texas, my first job was at this Mexican restaurant, Juan Enrique's, and I had my guitar at work one day, and the bartender was this dude, Brandon Gist, and he saw my guitar, and he took me under his wing, and he had this like little shack behind his house around the corner, and he had this single old Silverface twin reverb we'd both plug in, and he taught me to play the shuffle, and he'd have me just back him up playing Texas blues, and he got me my first shows around the hill country, like at the ice houses and stuff, really wild, dirty places, and one of my jobs in the band was to kick his amp, because his Silverface would always fits out, and he would be in the middle of a guitar solo, and suddenly his amp would start going out, and he'd turn around and yell at me, and be like, "But kick my amp, man, kick my amp!" And I would just kick it a couple times until it came back to life, like a few times per show, and that's kind of where I came from.
Damn, that's a lot cooler than, I learned Wonderwall on YouTube. So congrats to you on that.
I was doing that stuff too. I was learning Sublime and all that good stuff too.
Wow.
I like that you referred to Sublime and all that good stuff. Just like we were talking about Waylon Jennings and them. I was just in Hawaii listening to some Sublime. It really fit the mood nicely.
Oh yeah, I love Sublime.
The Sublime bass lines, I was like, damn, these guys are low key taking it for a walk, aren't they?
Yeah, they do take it for a walk. Do you play? Sure. So could you play whatever? Like, can you play the bass, guitar, drums? Like, if you have to, you can like sit in.
Yeah, I can play a fool around. I can't play the piano.
What?
And I can't play horn. I really can't play the piano at all. My younger brother Dylan Meek is like truly a virtuoso piano. He's like
so you just didn't have to learn.
A mad
basically?
Genius. Yeah, I never had to learn the piano. He was always taking care of it for me.
Because that, to me, I feel like that's like as foundational as guitar. But I guess you put your eggs in one basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm starting to play I love the drums so much. I got a drum set recently, and I've been practicing. I really want to play drums in a band.
What's the process like right now? Are you now with Big Thief? Do you guys write together, or is it like everybody writes alone and then brings the ideas to the table?
Adrienne actually writes the seeds of the songs for the most part. She'll bring in the lyrics and melody, and then we arrange them together. And sometimes we'll kind of edit the song a bit, but for the most part, it's just like writing our parts together. And arranging the songs, co-producing them.
You know, the live show I feel like is something for me. It struck me so much as like you guys bringing a true like late 90s house show energy to like national television, which
nice.
I think it speaks
about.
It speaks to people that had that experience. I think it really speaks to them in this way where it's like it feels like this thing could fall apart at any time, but it somehow stays on the rails.
It doesn't always stay on the rails.
It doesn't always.
Trust me, it does fall apart. It's not.
But I think that my point is that I just haven't seen something like that kind of appeal or at least cross over into this like mass world that you guys kind of have been able to do.
Hell yeah.
I think it's more of a testament to the songs than anything else, but particularly the live show, like seeing that, you know, on a late night show or like a, you know, an NPR kind of thing. It's it really brings me back, and I feel like it might do that for a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
And it's just, you know, and you guys also look like you're having fun, which I think is like strangely rare these days. You know what I mean? People want to be so,
Yeah.
you guys look like you're enjoying it, which I think is and the looks, let's talk about the looks, because you guys got collectively, you guys have
Hell
a
yeah.
wild vibe going on. So I just, you know, I need to understand. So, I mean, I just, is that ever something that's been discussed, or do you guys just fucking show up and this is what we do?
I think at some point we've all tried to get each other to dress like ourselves, and it just blows up in our face. At one point I tried to get everybody to wear suits, and that blew up in my face so fast. And I think Adrian tried to get Max to like not wear. He like wears tights with like socks and sandals a lot, which is, you know, that's his style. And but yeah, it just very quickly we realized that we just had to be ourselves. It was the only way.
No, but that's what I like about it so much is that it feels like four people that like found each other on Craigslist. And like, I guess we're doing this now. Like, fuck it. Like, we're a band, dude.
You look like you smell bad, but I know you smell good, if that makes sense.
Yeah. My favorite look is I remember my favorite style with James Kirchinia for the Colbert show or whatever, just like he had a old t-shirt on, he just took a pair of scissors and cut it right down the middle like that. And then it was like, what? That was my favorite look.
we were talking about this earlier. Like he particularly, I mean, drums to me is like something that when played, like the style that he brings to that is maybe the best I've ever seen. Like there's one guy that was in bands in Atlanta where I was growing up that was in a band called Some Soviet Station that like will forever be ingrained in my mind as like the coolest of all time. But it was, if you can, I mean, he looks like he's literally not trying at all, and it's perfect, and it's just really, it's inspiring. You know, effortlessness is tough to come by these days.
Yeah, it's super inspiring to me too. I've learned so much from observing James Kirchinia. Yeah, he actually makes incredible electronic music. Under his own name, James Kirchinia, and plays a lot of synth and he plays guitar. He also had some kick-ass rock bands back in New York whenever we were coming up, like a band called Happy You and the Bears. Yeah, he had a bunch of like rock bands growing up as a kid in Chicago, like the Dogs and Broken Parasite. And
the Dogs,
he writes songs and plays guitar.
The Dogs and the Bears. I was about to say that's two good names, to be honest. Those are two good names
for sure. Great names. You can't argue with those names.
I love the Chicago Dogs and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
I like both.
For
Those
sure.
are unfortunately that, you know, if that would have taken off, I think you would have had some he would have some Google result issues. But other than that, the names are hitting. You know.
Yeah.
Dogs is a little vague. Well, you recorded your record in New Orleans. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Can you sell somebody who might not like New Orleans that much on the magic of it? So, for example, like if my co-host Chris was not a big fan of New Orleans, you know, he's not a big drinker, you know, that he doesn't like, you know, southern fatty foods and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what might, you know, do they have a good acai scene?
Yeah, what brought you down there? Just the pure mysticism and the weeping willows, or was there more to it?
When I came to my friend Andrew Sarlo, who's produced all the Big Thief records, with the idea of producing this solo record, he said he'd do it, but only if we did it in New Orleans in July, in the hottest time of year.
Oh, so you were like, you're like, guys, I didn't have a choice. He said, I didn't have a choice. I'm not doing it. So
yeah, and yeah, I think that part of his pull to that place was just the heat itself. Like New Orleans is an incredibly humid place. It's the heat is 200% more intense than it would be in the desert, because it's like 100%
It's like
humid.
a yin yang twin song.
Yeah, and something about that I think drew Sarlo to record there, because it it just kind of boils your self-consciousness completely away, and you're just sweating. There's like this inherent catharsis to being in New Orleans in the summertime, which I think is part of that city's identity. It's just like everybody is so hot. They just have to be, I don't know. It's catharsis. No. And so, yeah, that was one reason we recorded there, I think.
Well, I've always felt like that about the desert. Like whenever I go to Palm Springs or something like that, when it's so hot and everyone is just in survival mode, everyone is a little bit kinder to each other because we're all just trying to get through it, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Do you like working in an environment like that, or?
Yeah, I love it.
Jason, this guy hates wearing shirts, dude. He loved it. He didn't wear a shirt for 3 months. He was pissed he had to put one back on. He didn't want to get on the plane.
True. I also love air conditioning. The sound of an air conditioning like humming is so soothing to me, having grown up in Texas. Yeah, like an old window unit, window fan.
I find that growing up in Atlanta, because the Atlanta weather is similar to New Orleans. It's just brutal summer. Like the humidity's so bad. But I agree. Like when I moved to New York and had to like get an air conditioner, I was like, what do you mean I have to get an air conditioner? I thought these came with the house. You know what I mean? I didn't know this was a thing. But air conditioning they don't love it in California. You might not need it up there though.
I don't need it here. But yeah, one of my favorite, when you put your head like in a window unit and it's just blasting ice cold air on your face and it has that very particular smell. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that smell is, but like
that is a harmful chemical known as Freon.
Yeah, exactly. There's the essence of
puts
Freon.
Puts a little hair on your chest, boy.
It's such a nostalgic feeling for me. One of my favorite feelings.
When you were in New Orleans, did you come down there with the songs like baked, or was it like we got to work on these a little bit in the stew?
All the songs were finished on my end, but the band had played very few of them. We had gone on a tour and played a handful of them, a little bit, but yeah, the idea was to kind of throw the songs at the band and have them react, and try to capture as many of the first reactions and the first takes as we could. And through all of my experiences recording together with Andrew Sarlo and Big Thief, we've kind of learned that often the first take or second take of a song has like this vitality that you lose as soon as you start repeating it and trying to perfect it, And of course we spent whole days in the Big Thief sessions trying to like hone in on this perfect version of a song, exhausting ourselves. And then we'll just return to the first take and realize like, oh, we had it the first time we played it, even if it's messy,
Yeah, we do this podcast in one take as well, so I get the vibes.
We
do our ad libs, of course.
We have to go back in and record. But are those vocals on your album? Is that all you? Are you singing the harmonies?
No, that's my band singing harmonies. I think I may have contributed a harmony on one or two of them, but I think it was almost all Matt Davidson and Adam Brisbane singing harmonies.
When did you start singing though? Because I feel like, your voice is I really like it, and it's really, really original, and I feel like that's something you might not have been comfortable with as a youngster.
I actually remember vividly, like I would go on really long road trips with my dad as a kid. He's a glass sculptor, and he would deliver sculptures to New Mexico and Colorado like once a year. And to Florida, and I would often travel with him, and he was just always with working the radio, and he had a bunch of old tapes, like Steve Miller tapes and U2 and all this stuff. And I remember really vividly just like sitting in the passenger seat for 12 hours at a time, crossing the desert, and just singing along with all of these tapes, and to the point where he couldn't even hear me because the stereo was so loud and the windows were down. I was just kind of in the corner, like just feeling the vibrations in my chest, not even really hearing my own voice, but just kind of working, with the vibrations, singing along with all these old classic songs, and probably like experiencing harmony singing even then, doubling the melody maybe, but also just kind of winging it. I had no idea what I was doing. And yeah, that's my first memory of like coming into touch with my own voice.
Speaking of competitions, you said your dad is in the glass blowing world. Are you guys loving Blown Away Season 2? How does he feel about that?
Oh, I've never seen it.
Are you a member of the glass blowing community as well?
My dad's actually a different kind of glass artist. He works with broken glass. He like smashes big plates of glass with hammers and then fuses them back together with like a laminate. Creates these like huge sculptures of broken glass. And he does slump glass in the kiln sometimes as well, but he doesn't blow glass with the tubes.
So he'd be known as a glass sculptor, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill Meek is his name.
So cool.
I haven't seen that show though. I'll check it out. Yeah, check out Bill Meek Studio and Gallery.
So you guys have a very artistic family is what it sounds like.
Yeah, in some ways, for sure. My mom was a child psychologist, but yeah, my grandparents were both literature professors, English literature professors, and my grandfather on the other side was a clarinet player who also worked for NASA and stuff. So yeah, a lot of music and a lot of literature growing up with my family.
And this was in Texas?
In Texas, yeah.
What do you think about everyone moving to Texas nowadays?
Texas is beautiful. Heaven on earth.
Yeah, but I mean, all these California liberal cucks coming down there setting up their Whole Foodses and Erewhons.
Yeah, you don't want these neoliberal podcasters opening an Erewhon on the ranch. You don't want that.
I think that's actually, I think what most people don't realize about Texas is that there's this really deep, beautiful dichotomy there. Like when you really go out into the hill country around Austin, there's this hilarious spectrum of hillbillies and hippies and really wild poets and artists and also just people who maybe are ranchers but are also the greatest poet you've ever heard in your life, just in the way they speak, And I don't know, there's a festival out there called the Kerrville Folk Festival that I've been going to since I was 15 out in Kerrville, 3 hours west of Austin in the hill country. And it's 18 days long, and it's just this gathering of songwriters from around the state.
18 days long?
Yeah, it's like a little town that pops up on this ranch out in the middle of nowhere. And it's there's a stage, but it's mostly a campground where songwriters gather to share their songs around campfires for 18 days straight. And it's this really beautiful cross-section of what Texas is to me, which is a lot of these really old-time, salt-of-the-earth people that come out of the woodwork from their ranches and, their masonry jobs and their carpentry businesses and all that stuff, who just happen to have the most beautiful songs you've ever heard in your life, and then they're sitting around the campfire with these hippies who come down from Oregon and all these old-timers from California and then a lot of these old songwriters from Austin from the 60s and 70s, like the real outlaw songwriters and that whole cloth, the more esoteric side of country music. They're all there, and just every aspect of the dynamic is represented there, and everyone's getting along. They put their politics aside and they just sit together and share their stories. I don't know. That's what Texas is to me. I think there's space for everybody.
Beautiful. So 18 days, when you go to this, are you there for the whole 18 days? Do you set up camp? How does it work?
Yeah, ideally. I've been almost every year since I was 15, and I try to stay for all 3 weeks if I can. There's been plenty of times where I had to skip out on tour or something, but I try to. Yeah, I set up camp. There's a bunch of camps around the ranch. There's one in particular at the top of the hill called Crow's Nest. That's kind of my friend Brian Cutian has held court there since 1972 or so, and he lights the fire every night and kind of holds the song circle there. And yeah, I just park my truck there and sleep in the bed.
Damn. So then you just wake up, you rustle up some grub on the fire, and then you just start playing music for hours and hours, and then the mason jar full of moonshine comes out, and we start telling some stories. Yeah,
it's kind of backward. It's upside. Your day starts around sunrise, and you just sit around the campfire and share songs until sunrise. Did I say your day starts at sunrise? Or your day starts at sunset, and you sit around the camp, and share songs until sunrise, and then you sleep for a couple hours, and then the sun wakes you up in your tent, and it's so hot you can't even think, and you go to the river and sleep at the river the whole day.
This
is cool.
Yeah, I had no idea that existed. I'd never heard of that before. It's really interesting. I mean, it's a
great place.
It seems almost like a personal challenge in some ways, like the physicality of it. Just what you described sounds like physically challenging in some ways.
It takes a few days to transition. The first few days are really weird. You go through withdrawals, but once you sink into that dynamic, though, it's actually really, really easy. And the rivers in Texas are really special. There's these spring-fed rivers and creeks throughout the hill country that come from this aquifer. And the water's just crystal clear, and it's always 72 degrees or so year-round. And there's these huge bald cypress trees on the banks that are super shady and grassy banks. And it's like white limestone, so it's just these emerald rivers with this really deep shade. And it's even in the heat of the summer, if you're under those cypress trees, it's really cool and comfortable. So you just, find a spot and rest for the day.
Buck, they don't make them like you anymore. You know that?
Here I am.
They really don't. I mean, what is your what is your relationship to technology? I'm a guy who's on my phone all fucking day. I'm on my computer all day. I mean, partly because of my job, partly because my brain is broken. I feel like you're a guy who's really not checking the mentions very often.
Oh, I go in and out of it. I mean, it's impossible to avoid. I think I try to put myself in situations where I don't have access to it. Like I do go out into the desert where there's really no phone service whatsoever. I try to get out there as much as possible. And for instance, when I surf, one thing I really appreciate about surfing is that you can't bring your phone with you. So it kind of forces you into this purity. And, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, I'm a product of this modern age for sure. And I, especially as a musician, I have to be, that's how I maintain my community and how I maintain my work to a certain degree is through that digital communication. So, I have to accept it and try to just maintain a healthy relationship with it if possible.
Yeah, no, I think that's a healthy attitude. But I mean, what is also, what's your relationship to the music business? Like I think that it's the nature of the beast, and you guys have been, with Big Thief particularly, like very successful. Do you find it like the gauntlet, or are you just enjoying it and kind of making your own way?
Well, I think I've been really blessed in so many ways, and but from the very beginning of performing my songs and my music, for whatever reason, I think I fell into a community of people who really put the music first, like with Adrian Linker and James Grimchidnia and Max Learchick, and then my own band and Matt Davidson of Twain and Andrew Sarlo and my friends like Really Big Pinecone and the whole community that I came from in New York City specifically. They put the music first. They really put the music first. And then I think that I've observed that like that opens doors that you could never predict. And you could never synthesize and I think that when you really put the music first and you believe in it, like opportunities appear, because basically people who resonate with whatever you're doing, who have some kind of opportunity, they'll just give it to you because they love you. It's like just a collective of friendship, and so I don't know, I learned that very quickly and set the intention to like never compromise the music, because I think it's actually really backwards and ends up shooting yourself in the foot when you do try to put the business first.
I would agree. I think it's very difficult. I mean, I just, I think that, like I said, you guys are in an interesting position just based on the success and what the music sounds like and the kind of people that you are. It sounds like it's kind of this perfect storm of being able to handle it with kind of a positive outlook and like knowing what makes sense, because I do think it's very easy to get lost in the sauce, as they say.
Yeah, you have to really build it from the ground up. I mean, with our business and our team, like from the very first person we ever worked with, we were really upfront with him that we were never going to compromise the music for a business decision, and we were very transparent about that with every single person we added to our circle, to our inner circle, and we were really careful to find people that we trusted on a deep level that believed in that philosophy and could represent it for us, in the world, and project that outwards. And we made some mistakes along the way. We had to navigate the process. But like now I think we've built a whole team of people that are on the same page with that, and they can bring it forward into the world of business. And I think that holds a pretty pure headspace.
No, that's what it feels like. And that's what I'm saying, though. I think when I watch you guys, when I see these clips on YouTube or whatever, and you guys look happy, I think that's part of it. You know what I mean? I think it's because it's like, you're doing this for the right reasons, and that kind of shines through while you're on stage, which is something that I think people are drawn to beyond the music itself. You know what I mean? I think
that's one of the things that people are drawn to, for sure. Because, it shines through. It's just honest.
Have you guys played some wild ass festivals for like an amount of people that like shook you?
We've played some pretty big crowds for sure. But honestly, I think for us, it's much more intense to play smaller shows,
Yeah. I mean, it feels personal.
The hardest shows, or the most intense, vulnerable shows we've ever played have been to like, 10 or 15 people, with like our families in the audience, or people that when we have relationships with, and there's like this element of empathy there. And that whenever it's just like a big crowd, it becomes like this, it's something else.
More impersonal.
Not necessarily impersonal. It's also a communion for sure, and it can be really direct. But it's easier to kind of maintain your center at least it's easier for me to maintain my center and my own identity on stage and like project that into a big audience than whenever I'm in a small room especially with people who I know. My mind is just constantly flying between all of these different relationships, all the different Venn diagrams, and of my relationships with those people.
Yeah. You can't lose yourself in the licks, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because we're our spirits kind of adapt to whoever we're with. My spirit is different when I'm with my old, one of my oldest friends, Paul, than when I'm with someone who I've met in the last few years, and when I'm with my mom or my different aspects of ourselves come out. And whenever you put all those different people in a room all together, it can be hard to navigate like who you are basically. Yeah, it's pretty intense music, pretty direct.
It's pretty intense. It's pretty direct. You know what I mean? It's pretty intense. It's pretty direct. I would agree. I mean, I think that there's a video I've seen a few times of you guys doing like a radio show, and one of the comments said like, this song makes me, I both want to cry and want to smile at the same time. And I was like, that to me like perfectly describes this song and this music in a lot of ways, which I think is a high compliment that I haven't really seen paid that many times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, to that note, do you guys feel, a responsibility or a relationship with your fans who latch on to your music and your lyrics with such power that it's changing people's lives, it's saving them? Like, how does that feel?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Take your time. I edit the podcast, so you don't have to.
Oh, right on.
You don't have to feel like you got to have the perfect answer off the top of your head.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that means a lot to me whenever my or our music, helps someone or, makes an impact on their life for sure. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think it's important for me to also just maintain the process of really like making the music for ourselves and try not to put too much energy into that, into like trying to help people or save people, because you really can't. Mm-hmm. You have no idea what people are going through. And I think I don't know. I find it to be more valuable to just try to like help ourselves through writing this music, to try to heal ourselves and like come into our own self-awareness and come into tune with our own process through our music, and then just trust that may help people
that seems like a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You're showing them an example of how you're doing it, how you're healing.
Yeah.
And they can learn a thing or two from you.
For sure.
That's great.
Buck, it was a pleasure chatting with you today.
Likewise.
So just to get the listeners situated, your album Two Saviors is in stores now. What's going on? Is Big Thief in the studio? Are you in the studio? Is music being made? What's the plan?
Yeah, Big Thief actually was in the studio a lot this year. We made a bunch of new music, and I'm working on a lot of new songs for my next solo record. But what I'm most excited about right now is that my friend just built this website called theschoolofsong.org, and I'm going to teach songwriting and guitar lessons, like group songwriting and guitar lessons through this website in March and April. And so I've been working really, really hard on those syllables.
That's great.
I was going to ask, when you were talking, with such reverence about your professors at Berkeley, I was like, I feel like this guy he's got the teaching bug in him a little bit as well. Yeah,
if anything, I just want to help people like unlock their own power. I feel like I want to help people learn how to teach themselves, I guess. But yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It's a really cool format for like building community.
What's the website again?
Theschoolofsong.org. My friend Stephen Van Betten of the band Fellrunner and Keedy Band here in LA, which are both badass bands, built this website with his friend Blue, and the idea is to bring in real like touring musicians and songwriters to teach these group lessons. So like my friend Molly Sarley is teaching a course in a week of the band Mountain Man, and I believe my friend Jolie Holland is going to teach one, songwriter Jolie Holland, and who knows who else. We're gonna like bring in people from our community to teach these workshops, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn to shred with Buck Meek. That's what I need to do. March and April, I'm finally going to learn to play guitar. Thank you for the push.
For sure.
Yeah, the master class on the 6-string bass.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's an extra $200, but we can figure it out. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Honestly, it was a pleasure. We're both big fans of the music, and keep making it, and we'll keep listening.
All right, homies. Cheers. Thanks for all the thoughtful questions. You too. Peace.
Peace.
Adios.
God bless you, brother.